What's up, everybody? I'm back. So just got done with some training. Good jiu-jitsu training today. But I'm going to jump in to the big Riyadh season. This fight this Saturday. Man, it's a huge card. It's loaded. 4 title fights on the main card. And let's jump right into it. The main event. The Mexican monster, David Benavidez, 30-0, is taking on Anthony Yarde, who's 27-3. The betting lines right now have David Benavidez, of course, the huge favorite. He's minus 1,100. He's coming off 3 victories. 2023, the absolute demolition of Demetrius Andrade. Then he moves up to light heavyweight, faces the 29-0 Alexander Volchik. There was a unanimous decision by him. And then in his last fight, David Morrell, unanimous decision by him. All those guys were undefeated before they ran into the Mexican monster. Andrade, 28-0. Alexander, 29-0. David Morrell, 30-0. And they all fell short to the Mexican monster. But he is taking on a tough season Anthony Yarde from London, England. Anthony Yarde, he's 27-3. His only 3 losses are to Archer Beterbiev. He lost by TKO in the 8th. Lyndon Arthur was a split decision back in 2020. And then he got KO'd by Sergey Kovalev back in 2019. It was an 11th round KO. So he's lost to top name guys. You know, Anthony Yarde is a tough dude. He's fighting for that English pride. But he's plus 610 in this fight. I haven't seen the props yet. I have to look at the over-unders for this fight. But David Benavidez, I think, of course, is going to win. And I think he gets a stoppage over Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde is tough, but I think David Benavidez is hungry. He wants a shot at the best in the world. He wants either Bivol or Beterbiev. I think he mainly wants Bivol because Bivol is the undisputed champion. I'm not sure if they stripped him of a title yet or not, but he needs this fight. You know, this fight is for the WBC light heavyweight title. So yeah, I guess it is vacant. I guess they did strip one of them. So WBC light heavyweight title, 175 pounds. I think David Benavidez gets it done, man. He's proven and shown he can throw combinations better than anybody in that division. Bivol is slick. Beterbiev has bigger power. Bivol is more technical, but what David Benavidez brings to the ring, he did at super middleweight, and he's doing that light heavyweight. The pressure and the combination punching. He rips to the body, he finishes up top, and he just throws multiple punches and big flurries throughout the fight. And I think that's going to be his path to victory. He's going to put the pressure, land multiple shots and big flurries, and he's going to stop Anthony Yarde. I'll probably say in the 9th or 10th round by knockout, TKO, David Benavidez. But he's the headliner of the card. The next fight down, you got Brian Norman Jr. He's a WBO welterweight title holder at 147. He's taking on Devin Haney. Devin Haney is the favorite in this fight. He's minus 130. This is his first fight up at 47. Brian Norman Jr. is plus 165. Look, man, if you want value, Brian Norman Jr., he doesn't have that really big scalp, on his resume yet, but he's a legit solid fighter. Brian Norman Jr. is good. He's plus 105. Sorry, I thought it was 160. He's plus 105. So the gap is not like crazy huge, right? And then Devin Haney coming off that shit performance against Jose Ramirez. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody would ever pay to see him fight again. He's lucky he's getting the co-main event spot here. And he's only getting this because for whatever reason, Turki Al-Sheikh thinks he owes him something or he likes him. Especially him being the main event. Like, to be honest, I thought Bam Rodriguez versus Fernando Martinez should have the co-main event. But Devin Haney gets it. It's for the WBO welterweight title. Hopefully, Brian Norman Jr. saw something in that fight and can expose Devin Haney a little bit. Ramirez didn't fight a much better fight either. I'm not going to put all the blame on Devin Haney. Jose Ramirez, he's fighting out of RGBA, Robert Garcia Box Academy. Robert himself would tell you that Jose Ramirez should have did more in that fight. He wasn't busy. He didn't cut off the ring well enough. But granted, Devin Haney was on his bike from the jump. He was afraid to get hit that whole fight. Coming off the beatdown from Ryan Garcia, even though it was called a no contest, he got his ass kicked in that fight. And he got his ass kicked bad. And, I think when you take a beating like that, it makes you gun shy. That's why I think he fought the way he fought. I mean, he already fights defensively on the back foot most of the time, but he's shown where he can push forward. The Lomachenko fight was good, but he needs to do something in this fight to get his name back, because if he fights like he fought against Jose Ramirez again, I think the boxing public is going to be out on Devin Haney. And he's a good talent, but you just can't keep fighting like that and expect to keep getting big fights. If he doesn't show up against Brian Norman Jr. or he gets put out by Brian Norman Jr., he might be having to look to start a podcast or something, because ain't nobody going to want to book him to fight again. That last fight was probably one of the most boring fights I've seen in the last 10 years. And I'm not even fucking joking. That was a fucking abysmal, horrible performance by Devin Haney. And the worst thing about it is he still got to win. So that even says a lot about Jose Ramirez, who usually fights better than that. But it is kind of hard to fight somebody when they're running the whole time. Ask Canelo, Ask Canelo about that. So he knows. But Devin Haney is a slight favorite at minus 130. If you want value, I'd go Brian Norman Jr. on this one. Hopefully Haney's still gun shy and Brian Norman Jr. just comes out and puts some pace on him. Some type of pressure, something. I mean, even an attempt at cutting off the ring, I think would win him the fight if Devin Haney fights the way he did against Jose Ramirez, right? The feature fight, I might have these mixed up because they have it one way written down, and on the zone they have it another way. But I'm going to go how they have it on the zone. Jesse Bam Rodriguez from San Antonio, coming out of Robert Garcia's gym, is taking on El Pumita Fernando Martinez from Argentina. It's for Bam Rodriguez's Ring Magazine, WBC, WBA, and IBF super flyweight titles at 115. Bam is 22-0 with 15 KOs. Pumita is 18-0 with 9 KOs. So it just shows you the power difference. Bam is a huge favorite. He's minus 750. Pumita is plus 460. Pumita is a good fighter, and this should be an interesting fight for as long as it goes. But I think Bam can get him out of there. I think Bam has shown that he's just got all the skills, man. He's got all the skills. He's got the swagger. He's a reigning world champion, multiple belt title holder. I mean, I just want Bam to keep winning and smoking through these super flyweights till he can move up and get a chance at the monster Inoue, Inoue. I think Bam gets it done. I think he can outbox Pumita, but I think he's going to catch him with some big shots in the mid rounds and possibly put him away by the 7th or the 8th. Don't get me wrong, Pumita's good. He's undefeated, but he only has 9 KOs out of the 18-0 victories that he has. And Bam has just proven that he's got the power at super flyweight, and he can put guys away. And I'm sure he's looking to get that fight with the monster in a way. So all he has to do is keep winning, keep putting guys out, keep stopping people, keep winning decisively. If he can't get a KO, smoke him 12-0, shut him out, and I think Bam was going to get it done on Saturday, and I believe he'll get a stoppage. So they only have the money lines out right now. I would like to see the over-unders and the knockout prop bets and, all that other good stuff. But I'm going to go Bam Rodriguez on this one. I think Bam gets it done and gets another huge knockout victory, Let's go Bam. San Antonio, Texas. What's up? And then the last fight I'm going to cover, Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes. Abdullah coming out of Cleveland, Ohio. Sam Noakes out of Kent, England. Both guys are undefeated. Abdullah is 19-0 with 17 KOs. Sam Noakes is 17-0 with 15 KOs. Both these guys got power. Both these guys can put you away. It's for the WBO lightweight title at 135. Abdullah Mason, even though both these guys have knockout power and they're undefeated, Abdullah Mason is the heavy favorite at minus 550. Minus 550, Sam Noakes is plus 350. Man, like, I wish the betting lines were so much closer. You know, I don't know if it's just a boxing thing where they just mismatch these guys. The matchmaking is not what it is when it comes to like the UFC. Like in the UFC, and I'm not comparing the both. I'm just for betting wise odds. All right, don't get your pennies in a bunch. All right, I'm not comparing boxing to UFC or MMA. But when it comes to betting and the matchmaking, you might have one, maybe two fights on a UFC card from the very, very start of the prelims all the way to the main event. That's like 14 fights on an entire night of fights for the UFC. You might have one, maybe two that are as lopsided as Bam Rodriguez versus Bumita or Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde. You might have one, maybe two. But to have 3 out of the top 4, like, where's the matchmaking here? Like, can we make them closer fights? Like, I understand that, you know, that not everybody's going to be a world champion or world champion level, but I mean, where is the competition? You know, when you have guys just running through people, minus 750 plus against a plus 460, minus 550 plus versus a plus 350, minus 1100 against a plus 610. You know, the closest odds on this, the top 4 are Devin Haney, minus 130, Brian Norman Jr. plus 105, and Brian Norman Jr. is the champion. And he's still the underdog. Like, I'm not going to shit on this card or the matchmaking too much because they're big names, and whatever happens on this fight card is going to determine what happens going in the future with some other big fights that are potentially there for all the winners, especially Bam, especially Benavidez, and Devin Haney, Brian Norman. Like, whoever wins that fight is going to have other big names. 147 is stacked right now. And then you have Conor Benn coming off the big win against Eubank Jr. He already said he's done at 160. He's going to come back down to 47. That's another big name in there. You know, so you got Haney, Norman, Conor Benn coming down. You've got Teofimo Lopez there. You got Shakur Stevenson there. Like, there's a lot of big fights there. You know, a lot of big fights at 147. So, I'm not going to shit on the matchmaking too much, but, I mean, it could be better. It could be a lot better. Like, make them interesting. I mean, maybe I just have a bad taste in my mouth after the last Golden Boy card, which I went to in Fort Worth here when Virgil Ortiz fought Erickson Lubin. That card was absolute trash. Like, and I love De La Hoya, but man, you got to do better matchmaking because there was 5 fights, I believe, on that card when we got there. We got there right at the end of the first fight. But then the other fights were either like crazy lopsided or crazy boring, you know. And then the Virgil Ortiz versus Erickson Lubin fight only lasted 2 rounds, which I'm not mad at. Virgil went in there, did his business, got the win, got the knockout. You know, he don't get paid by the round. You know, get in there, finish that full, cash this check, let's go. I'm all about that business, you know what I'm saying? But the rest of that card was shit. And I know that Oscar loves to shit and clap on fucking Dana White all the time. But, dude, everybody knows that the UFC cards are more stacked and more excited. From top to the bottom. I'm not saying the main events and all that because I love boxing. Like, I will take a great boxing fight, main event. I'd probably watch that over a good MMA main event, and then I'd go back and watch it later. But if they were both live, I'd probably watch the boxing main event because I just love it so much, and that's what I grew up. That's my childhood. You know, I found MMA later on in my life, and I fell in love with that too, so I love them both. But Oscar can shit all he wants on Dana, but Dana White and the matchmakers at the UFC make the fights more competitive from the top, from the very, very beginning of the prelim card all the way to the main event. And you don't see that in boxing. The only time you see it is on cards like this where Turki Al-Sheikh's involved, where you get 1, 2, 3, 4 title fights, you know, on the main card. You know, I haven't seen the prelim card yet, but the main card is stacked. That alone is worth the buy. But, I mean, shit, man. When you have Virgil Ortiz versus Erickson Lubin for a fucking interim title, and then the rest of the fights are absolutely dog shit. Like, you know, maybe you should do a clapback on yourself. And I love Oscar. I'm a big fan of Oscar. I like what he does. I love Clapback Thursday, but don't throw stones in a glass house, man. Like, if you can't put out a better product, then maybe you should kind of hold off on shitting on everybody else. That's just me. That's just my opinion. What the fuck do I know? I mean, I'm just a fan that wants to see great boxing and not just wait 3 hours, 2 hours to watch the main event. I want to see quality boxing while I'm there. I paid my ticket. I went out of my way to go to the event. Like, give me some good boxing. Give me some fucking good fights, please. I mean, that's what the fans want. That's what we want to see. We pay our hard-earned money to watch good fights, not just a main event. Like, do better. Do better. That's my little breakdown for the Riyadh card this weekend. It's gonna be early start time, guys. The DAZN coverage starts at 2 p.m. Central Time, so Texas time. So 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon on the Pacific Coast. The walkouts, I believe the main event walkouts, David Benavidez is slated to walk out at 8:04 Central Time p.m. So it's going to be a long day of boxing. So it's going to be a great card. At least the four main fights are going to be good. I don't know about the prelims, but you know, with Turkey around, I'm sure we'll see some pretty good fights on the undercard. So hit the like, hit the subscribe, share with everyone you know that loves boxing. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.